The number of musicians that hold Jimi Hendrix in the highest of esteem is a veritable who's who of blues and rock and roll, from Buddy Guy and B.B. King to Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. The Beatles' Paul McCartney had this to say about the first time he saw the man that would become his favorite guitarist.
I probably saw his first gig in London, which was at the Bag of Nails, when we were just there one night having a drink, and he just ambled up on the stage in that manner he had. And he was just a beautiful guy, and he just wound up the Marshalls and just started playing very loud. And we were there, and the next time he played the Bag of Nails, then it was more homage. Yeah. People knew he was going to be there, so I remember one night, me, Townsend and Eric were all there in the audience kind of going, this is good. It was not arrogant in the least, and he was just a great guy, the kind of person you want to know, you know? Very self-effacing about his music, but then when he picked up that guitar, you know, he's just a monster.
After his discharge from the Army, Hendrix spent several years as a touring musician, as part of the backing bands for people like the Isley Brothers and Little Richard. By the mid-60s, though, it was time for him to go it alone. As with so much of the African-American music at the time, it had to go to the UK first and be repackaged before finding success on the US charts, and Jimi was no different. So in 1966, after a meeting with the Animals bass player turned budding music producer Chas Chandler, Jimi Hendrix was on his way to London. The seismic effect that Hendrix would then have on the guitar world and modern music in general can still be felt today, but which other guitarists did the man himself like? Many have been rumored to be his favorite, but we're going to look at three in particular. Firstly, Terry Kath of the Chicago Transport Authority, later shortened to simply Chicago. A quote often attributed to Hendrix about Kath was, he thought he was the best guitarist in the universe. Sadly, only a few years after Jimi's own needless death, Kath also died in tragic self-inflicted circumstances.
Come on, baby. Give it to freedom.
Our second nominee for Jimi's favorite guitar player is Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top. After playing on the same bill in 1968, Gibbons later said, "He grabbed me and said, 'I like you. You've got a lot of nerve.'" Gibbons himself has never said that Hendrix called him his favorite. In fact, he was asked about this in an interview.
Open for Jimi Hendrix, and he at one point said that you were his favorite guitarist.
I remember that. I've heard that from on and off, and we were good friends. We were very good friends. I still got some fond memories of our time together.
Well, it was kind of tough. We had a couple of records that started to pick up steam, and one day a phone call came in, and they said, "Hey, you've been invited to join a tour with this guy. Have you heard of a guy named Jimi Hendrix?" I said, "Yeah." So the Moving Sidewalks joined up with the Jimi Hendrix Experience. That was back in 1968. And in order to fulfill the contract, the Moving Sidewalks had to play for 40 minutes before Jimi Hendrix came on. And in order for us to play 40 minutes, we had two Jimi Hendrix songs to play. So we went into Foxy Lady and then went into Purple Haze. I glanced over my shoulder, looking into the shadows. There was Jimi Hendrix in the shadows with his arms folded.
While you're playing his music, opening for him.
Came off stage and he grabbed me and he said, "I want to know you. You got a lot of nerve. I like you."
The third member of our trio is Irishman Rory Gallagher. While at Woodstock, Jimi was allegedly asked, "What's it like being the best guitar player in the world?" And allegedly he responded, "I don't know. Ask Rory Gallagher." At the time Gallagher was part of the band Taste, both Hendrix and Taste would later perform at the 1970 Isle of Wight Festival. Nobody knows for sure which guitar players Jimi Hendrix rated. The most likely answer is he probably had a lot of respect for many other players, including the three already mentioned.